Welcome. So what I want to do is show you how to solve this by completing the square. And again, what we need to make sure is when we're solving by completing the square, we need to make sure we create a perfect square trinomial that we can factor down to a binomial squared. But to do that, we're going to want to make sure that our a is going to be equal to 1. So we're going to have to factor out a 2. And even though we can factor out a 2 out of all three of these terms, I'm only going to want to factor it out of my quadratic and my linear term, my first two terms. So therefore, because that's what I'm going to create my perfect square trinomial with. So we're solving this, so we're going to set it equal to 0. So we're going to have our y values equal to 0. And we want to find the values of x that are going to make this equation true. All right, so I'm going to factor out a 2, but I'm only going to factor out a 2 out of the first two terms. I don't know why I have an n there. That should be an x. Now I need to create my value of c that's going to create a perfect square trinomial within that parenthesis. So I take b divided by 2, and I square it. Well, my b in this case is equal to a negative 2 divided by 2 squared. Well, negative 2 divided by 2 is going to be negative 1. Negative 1 squared equals 1. Now I need to make sure I add that to the right and the left side. So adding it to the left side is going to be a positive 1 equals 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 1 minus 14. However, be careful. Remember that 2 was being multiplied by 1 on distributive property. So I need to make sure I multiply the 2 on the left side as well. Therefore, now I have a perfect square trinomial, which can be factored down to a binomial squared. So just factor this. And by using our methods of factoring, or if you just look at this, you can be able to see that the factored form of a binomial squared for this would be x minus 1 squared. So therefore, this becomes now 2 times x minus 1 squared, which is the factored form of this trinomial, minus 14. Now what I need to do is use my inverse operations to solve. So what I'll do here is I'll add 14. And therefore, I get 16 equals 2 times x minus 1 squared. Now, I'll apply my next inverse operation. I'll divide by 2 on both sides. So I get 8 equals x minus 1 squared. Now, to undo the squaring function, I need to take the square root. So those will undo each other. And then I have the square root of 8, which remember, we can break down the square root of 8. We can rewrite that as the square root of 4 times 2, which is 2 times square root of 2. And remember, taking the square root, I need to introduce the positive and the negative. So therefore, it's plus or minus 2 square root of 2 equals x minus 1. Now I add 1 to both sides. And therefore, my final answer is going to be x equals 1 plus or minus 2 square root of 2. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you solve by completing the square. Thanks.